Hello there, Sarah from 17 once again. This is my Metal Gear Solid 5 S-Rank walkthrough. This is episode 30, it is called Skullface. And can you remember how in the last video I said that it was pretty much a lot of the things, or I actually said everything, but you know, it was hyperbolic and me being silly, but I said it was most of the things wrong with this game showcased in that video. Well, this is the complete antithesis of that. This is the opposite. This is probably one of my favourite missions in the entire game, and this is a mission that completely embodies what Metal Gear Solid is all about. Because from the very beginning of this mission to the very end, you can creatively stealth your way through every single encounter using your own specific path without ever pulling a trigger or ever needing to. It's wonderful game design and incredibly fun to figure out your own method of doing it. And the one that I'm going to show you here is one attempt. There is no procrastinating. I struggled quite a lot on this mission my first time through it, figuring out a path, and then on the recording run for this, it flowed so naturally that I nearly ran off a cliff because I'm not that familiar with this mission. But it stays in because that's what happened, and it was a one-take kind of thing, and that's what makes it even more beautiful because I had so much fun doing it. And I've already thought of a few ways to improve the path and get a faster time, which will help with getting a better rank at the end, getting more score. It's such a beautifully constructed mission, and the path I take here is going to be following the right hand side. My first time through this area, I followed the left hand side, and I just love the choice that's afforded you in this particular section, because it's very much akin to older Metal Gears, this moment, because it's quite a linear path through several holds to get to the area where Skullface is, but at the same time, it's still a semi-larger scale than you would normally be presented with. And then of course you have the choice of coming here through day, coming here at night, you know, the different camouflages that you wear, the different approaches, using a vehicle, using the horse. There's still quite a lot of choice here. And one thing I really like is all the soldiers in this area have got this crazy black armor going for them, and they all remind me of the soldiers from Masters of the Universe, who are essentially the guards for Skeletor. And if you've not seen that film, it's probably just going to fly dead on you, but if you look at them, they super look like those Stormtrooper dudes. I like that a lot. But I mentioned some camouflage values in other videos, so I'm going to paraphrase them a little here just to give people an understanding who haven't watched that video, and if so, go back in the playlist, folks. I cover quite a lot of systems of this game, in between telling you what to do and talking about our game's sexist, which was kind of a weird rant that turned up. But basically, whenever you're in grass, you get a passive bonus. Whenever you're in shadow, you get a passive bonus as well. Whenever you are in terrain that matches the colour of your camouflage, you get a passive bonus. There are a lot of things that add towards things, and whenever you're completely submerged in grass, you get a plus 30 bonus. When you are not moving, laid prone, you get a plus 30 bonus. Those two things together, you know, give you a plus 60 camouflage. Then you add the shadow, which is plus 10. You know, you add the matching camouflage, which is another plus 10. There's a lot of ways to augment the measure of your invisibility, and it's another one of those great things about the game. Because in a circumstance like this, if you were to use the sneaking suit, you might lose out on a little bit of the passive camouflage, but you would also not have to do what I'm doing right now, where I'm mitigating the sound of my footsteps by lightly brushing the analog, and I'm sacrificing speed to do this. And a lot of the times you're going to see me do it more out of thoroughness and paranoia than actually needing to do it, because the distance where you need to walk like that in crouch walking is give or take around 15 meters from an enemy, and there are many moments in this where I'm not even that close, but I'm doing it anyway. Once again, it's kind of that placebo effect. Oh, I hate that. I absolutely hate that. Did you see what happened? People who've played this game a lot know exactly what just happened. People who perhaps have not played it quite so much might be curious, but when you are crouched and you drop off a ledge, if you hold A to go into being laid down, Snake will stand up. It's this weird thing where as you try and change his stance to go further down, it registers him going up. And it happens every so often where you'll drop down and you'll want to crouch, but he'll stand and then you'll have to do it again to get yourself down. And the amount of times it's happened to me, is really high, and it's one of those things you don't even notice it's happening until it gets you caught. And the best way to get around it is, instead of pressing A to change stance after you've changed those distances in the geometry, changed height levels, you want to do the dive. The dive will automatically put you into being prone, regardless of whatever stance you are, and you have no threat of ever standing up. However, the dive makes noise, so if you're in an area where it's noise sensitive, it's not realistic to do it, so you want to be really careful. And speaking of being careful, there's a gunship here, and the gunship is one of those parts of the game where sometimes the gunship will be an absolute asshole and spot you at stupid distance. Other times it'll be as if it never existed and the guy driving it had cataracts, because I've only ever been spotted by it once, and when I did, I had done so many more dangerous things as far as stealth is concerned. Oh, by the way folks, whenever you are lit up in illumination like that, it's a -30 on your camouflage index when you're in those passive illumination. And I think if somebody shined a torch on you, it's the same as well, -30. I'm not as familiar with the minus digits, because my logic is avoid light and you won't have to mess with them. But once again, if you go into the stealth mode, then you go even deeper. I think it might be like +60 that stealth, but if people are close enough, it will not save you. You have to be really fortunate with it. However, I'm highlighting here that as long as you've got a decent understanding of the camouflage and the enemy AI, that you can literally crawl past them. If you'd have tried that during the day, he would not have been quite so compliant, but we're not doing it during the day, and he might not even be there during the day. That's one of the distinctions to make here. I think the next time I do this, it's going to be with burning sunlight, just to see how different it is. But mantle up here and immediately dive, and get your ass into that shadow and put some of these bollards between you and those robots. Because the distance he has to travel is quite large, but he moves very quickly, and as long as he doesn't see you again, you're good. That was the chopper right there. The gunship's light, but it didn't do much. One of the things you might notice about this game is whenever something's about to happen, for instance if you're going to be coming in contact with enemies, or if the gunship's near you, or if people are close to taking note of you, the game will do this kind of strange audio cue. It did it just then on the light from the gunship. It was kind of like a sizzle noise. The logic of this, according to the tooltips that happen on the loading screens, is apparently it's to tell you that an encounter is coming. So if you're riding through the area, that you don't get caught blindsided by the enemies. But it can still happen. Do not go in here. I always forget that there doesn't seem to be an effective path out of this room. I always assumed you could just like climb out one of the other windows, but I haven't figured it out yet. There might be a crawl space hidden somewhere here, but it's one of those things where I haven't found it. So get your ass out of there, stop wasting time, and then circumvent it on your belly like I'm doing. If you're curious of the camouflage I'm wearing, it's the standard desert camouflage. It's the ones that Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren were wearing when they assailed the dam at the beginning of Universal Soldier, and it is one of my all-time favourite camouflages, because I absolutely adore that film, even though I know I shouldn't. What can I say, folks? I had it recorded on VHS when I was a child, and I watched it far too many times. But be careful here, there is a camera with a gun on it. On your game, if you have not done so many silent infiltrations, you will not have a camera here. Or you might have a camera and it might not have a gun, or the camera could always be there and it's just part of the level. But when I was reading the walkthrough, it says that if you've been successful in stealth, there are times where cameras will turn up where they won't be on other people's games. So if you ever see a camera on mine, or if there's a camera on yours, conversely, it just means that you're doing it right, and it makes it a little trickier. Right now, I need to move because that guy knows where I am, but luckily enough, I can adjust, and this works okay. My advice there, folks, just be a little more tentative, and then you'll not have to waste your time on this particular moment. But that just goes to show how aware they can be. The awareness, considering this is normal difficulty, like the difficulty of the game, it's kind of up there. Like, that would have never happened on normal on other Metal Gears. That wouldn't have happened on hard. That is a much higher level of awareness. To compare, I would probably say the awareness of this game is the gap between hard and very hard in a game. However, the amount of damage you can take is literally on beginner baby mode bullshit easy. Like, the amount of damage Snake takes before he gets killed is kind of ridiculous. And the only reason you even notice it's ridiculous is if you've played the extreme levels. Because when you play this game for long enough, you completely forget that you're taking a million shots and your screen's going red and you're regenerating it like some, Call of Duty bro. But when you put Extreme on, and one attack from a skull kills you instantly, you remember, yo dog, remember when Metal Gears were tough? When you could actually die? And the only time you get even close to that on the normal level of difficulty is by tanks. If a tank hits you with a sweet spot, you're dead. But for the most, it is incredibly rare. And I mentioned earlier on in the game that I didn't like the health system, and I don't. I wish you had a bar, just like every other Metal Gear Solid, because then you can assess just exactly how much damage you're being dealt and how much life you have. Because somebody giving me a blood bukkake does not tell me anything about how vulnerable I am to dying. And like I mentioned previously, I hate this, by the way, when you can't crawl past a clipping zone. Absolutely winds me up. But here's me utilising the speedy laid down rolling, which is a move that I don't use too often, but I absolutely adore it because it's fantastic. And now that he's no longer aware of me, I'm going to go towards this corner, and I'm going to hop over here. You can probably do this at a closer angle, but the paranoid aspect of me makes me do things, as meticulously as I can. But this path is golden. I am looking forward to refining it, but as it stands, I'm really pleased with it. I had to reverse engineer it as well, because I couldn't figure out where to go from this roof. I ended up sneaking up here, not thinking there was any point to it, and then getting down and going across the other side, and the other side was worse. But when I finally got past the entrance into this next hangar, which I did by laying on my belly and sneaking past the dude, which was absolutely hilarious, I realised when I started climbing the scaffolding that there was a way out of here and a crack in this wall. So I went along the scaffolding out this wall, and I found where it connected to this. And that is how I came up with this path. But once again, erring on the side of caution, I lay down, and then if you come over here you can climb up, and the level is over, guys. As soon as you go into this area you can pretty much run the rest of it, even though I don't, because I'm super paranoid at this point because I haven't had an alarm yet. And it's that thing of, because I haven't retried and I'm aware of it, I'll end up running thinking I'm safe and somebody will see me and it'll cock it up. And I'm not really that cared. That's not even good English, is it? I'm not really that cared, guys. That is how I speak. That is how language began. Being completely broken and wrong and nobody understood it. But I don't really care that much about the retry bonus, because several reasons I've already explained. I'm just not that particular, really. I know a lot of people take pride in that type of stuff, but to me, couldn't really give a shit. It's nice to get, but I'm not losing sleep. So on this moment here, you can run. There is no threat whatsoever, and as long as you skip the cutscenes for the rest of the mission, you will get the S rank. If you do not skip the cutscenes, your rank will be destroyed, because it's really long, the rest of this mission. But there you go, folks, no traces. Thank you very much for watching, and you take care now.